It's a little bit of a battle here being set up, Peter. What makes you think that WWE will not just survive, but thrive?
Well, thematically, we have been and remain excited about the idea that the best intellectual property on the planet, and especially live entertainment and especially professional sports, really represent a toll booth on global consumer discretionary spending, and that the explosion of digital media, the internet in particular, really is a leverage point that favors the owners of that IP. And so we're bullish on the whole asset class, and WWE in particular is a very differentiated asset, very profitable business that over time has steadily appreciated in value. We think the wind continues to be at their back.
Peter, I feel like when we hear about Saudi money in sports, at least my mind immediately goes to golf and what we saw go down with the PGA and Live, and how that was just like a battle royale until they surprised everyone by trying to come together. Would it be the same kind of competition where one is stealing talent from the other, for example, and it really is like that, or is this different?
This morning we wrote that the answer to that question is about the world that we are in versus the world we hypothetically could be in. The transaction that took place recently between the People's Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia and the PFL Wrestling League was a 20%, rather $100 million non-controlling equity stake. We think that bought the Saudis about 20% of the PFL. What that means is that the Saudis do not have control of strategy nor of budget at PFL. And a team of American entrepreneurs who created it in 2018 and who have raised money from some very credible, down the middle of the road institutions are making the budgetary decisions. And that doesn't sound to us like analogous to Live Golf, where the Saudi government controlled the strategy and the capital allocation. Now, the world we could find ourselves in the future, if things go a certain way and a chain of events plays out poorly for WWE and UFC, is that the Saudis get control of more than 51% and treat this as an investment platform without much sensitivity for returns. And that's just not where we are.
Right. Explain how this all happened, because remember during COVID, didn't the Saudis provide a bubble for the mixed martial arts world, which teamed up with WWE, and Ari Emanuel had managed to sort of make the whole thing happen, and now suddenly the Saudis are not so involved? Just explain the backstory there, Peter.
Sure. The Saudis have spent about $6 billion on sports rights in the last several years. That's a third-party estimate on sports investments and sports rights. That includes Live Golf. It includes their soccer team. It includes the soccer league that they've just created, and a number of other things. And one of those other things is that they have they're home to two major WWE events every year that produce about $100 million of revenue for WWE. UFC and Ari Emanuel have a different history with Saudi Arabia. The Saudi government was a large investor with Ari Emanuel, and after the Jamal Khashoggi events, tragedy, however you want to call it, Ari sent the equity capital back to Saudi Arabia and is not presently in business with them.
And finally, Peter, especially given we are on a big economic data day here in the U.S., we got the jobs report. Signs are still pointing to resilience in the economy. If things do start to turn, though, when we're thinking about the experience economy and people spending money on things like live entertainment, does that leave names like this vulnerable, or are they recession resistant?
We look at the services as a percentage of consumer spending, and also live entertainment as a percentage of that statistic, and both of them are below their prior peak levels. And all that says is the demand in this space isn't overheated. Having said that, there is a discretionary component to this. And so if you are managing a portfolio and trying to reduce your exposure to consumer discretionary, then certainly you need to forecast this business with sensitivity to that. Having said that, WWE in particular tends to trade as a non-cyclical business in the public markets, because despite that there are gate revenues and concession revenues and advertising revenues, the bulk of the revenues are locked in. They're TV media rights distribution deals that are not cyclical at all.